participating through ReadyTalk, Twitter, and those who will be reviewing this webinar as a podcast or flash presentation later, hello. I'd like to welcome you to this new session of the Product Management View series. I'm Val Workman from Ryma Technology Solutions, one of the sponsors of this webinar, and I'd like to thank ReadyTalk for their generous support of this community and their sponsorship as well. Lastly, I'd like to point out that this webinar is coming from the newly formed Innovation COP, or Community of Practice, with Stone Payton as the COP captain. I'll be your moderator today, and it's my pleasure to introduce BoB De Jonge, who will be our presenter on this week's topic, Open Innovation. For those of you who are using Twitter, you can follow and add additional conversation using the Twitter hashtag #PMV during the webinar, and continue conversation after this webinar on hashtag InnoChat. Further discussions are being conducted on Yammer, and going to LinkedIn, looking up the Innovation COP, you can gain directions for that Yammer discussion. This conversation will be posted afterwards on the Product Management Views blog post, and I'd encourage you to make comments and ask additional questions on this post. I'll also be collecting questions throughout this presentation and review them with you during the question and answer session at the end of this last 15 minutes. The innovation community is starting to grow, and it offers many new and exciting opportunities for those who choose to participate and get involved in the community. A great group of folks that I'd highly recommend getting to know. I'm going to pass the control over to Bob now, and who's an instructor out at Michigan Tech up in Houghton Hancock in the God's country in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. At the end of the presentation, I'll come back to conduct the question and answer session. Bob, go ahead.
Thanks, Val. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Great.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about a topic which most of you, I'm sure, have heard about and read about in a number of different forums, and I'm trying to give you my take on this topic of open innovation. I think the term itself was coined by Henry Chesebro a few years ago with his first book. But, it's really what you see on this first slide here, what has been happening, maybe not underneath that specific moniker of open innovation, but the process itself has been going on in various forms for a long time, and it continues to evolve. So I'm going to try to give you a case, if you will, or a few different cases of my perspective on this process. A little bit of background here. I'm an engineer, so I'm an engineering background, trying to migrate from that left brain mentality that is drilled into you through undergraduate and graduate work, and trying to incorporate a lot of right brain activities as well. My background is mechanical and electromechanical. Spent a little bit of time in aerospace in the era of the B-2 development. So that was quite some time ago. I worked at Northrop out in California. More recently, I worked in the automotive sector for a tier 1 supplier, and my focus in that role was driver control systems. So in those two roles, I was serving as an R&D manager for small R&D groups, developing product, definitely a product development background, and responsible for a lot of IP issues. So that background has given me, a certain perspective on the question or the topic of innovation and in general and open innovation in particular. So we want to get into this a little bit. What is this open innovation thing? Like I said, there are many forms. In the past, before this term maybe has been created, you had your old supplier customer relationships, right? You reached out to your suppliers that had specific skills and abilities in certain areas, certain types of product, and flipping that coin around, you as a supplier were perhaps always trying to promote your product or your new innovations or what you thought would be great innovations to your customer base. So this supplier